The dim glow of the tavern's flickering holocene cast long shadows over the crowded room. Smoke curled lazily from the glowing pipes of a dozen alien patrons, filling the stale air with a bitter scent. The distant hum of starship engines vibrated faintly through the thick metal walls of the space station orbiting the shattered moon of VARK-9. Humans. A towering, scaled Glinther barked, slamming a clawed fist on the battered table. Those are just legends, bedtime tales. For scared recruits. His eyes glinted with derision. A lithe Kavari woman smirked, her 3 iridescent eyes narrowing. Folklore, sure. Stories of a species wiped out before we even cataloged them properly. They say humans could punch a starship's hull and laugh at the scorch marks. Laughter erupted, harsh and bitter, but beneath it lurked an undercurrent of unease. Every species here had heard the tales growing up, whispered warnings about a time when humans walked the stars. But those stories were old, ancient even, from an era before the Great Silence, before humans vanished without a trace. The bartender, a grizzled Vortin with cracked cybernetic eyes, poured drinks without looking up. His voice was low but carried a sharp edge. You think humans are gone? That they're just stories to scare your star pups? No one answered. A strange chill seemed to crawl through the room despite the recycled air. Suddenly, a sharp alarm echoed from the station's outer sensors. Head snapped toward the main viewport, where a grainy holomap flickered with a new blip. Small, fast, unmarked, unknown vessel, closing at impossible speed. The station's cum crackled. The crowd's laughter died instantly. Eyes darted to the holoscreen as the blip moved with eerie precision, weaving through sensor arrays like a ghost. The tavern's usual chaos fell silent, replaced by a thick tension. The Glinther growled low, his claws tapping on the metal table. No ship that fast should exist, not for decades. A hush fell over the room. The Kavari woman's voice was barely above a whisper. Could it be, them? The bartender wiped a hand across his face. They said humans vanished after the collapse, that the galaxy never saw them again. But what if it was a lie? A nervous young pilot muttered, barely daring to breathe. Outside the viewport, the black void swallowed the tiny speck of a ship. Its design was unlike anything catalogued, sleek, utilitarian, with faint markings too faded to read clearly. Yet there was something eerily familiar about its silhouette. The tavern's patrons leaned forward as the ship's trajectory shifted abruptly, locking onto the station's orbit. An old mercenary, his face scarred by decades of battles, stood and banged his glass. If they're real, we're all dead. Eyes flicked nervously between the ship and one another. Rumors had always painted humans as unstoppable, relentless survivors of a brutal past where only the fiercest endured. But no one had believed it, not really. The alarm intensified, warning lights casting flashing red shadows on anxious faces. The pilot who spotted the ship was already scrambling to send an alert to nearby fleets, but it was unclear if anyone else would believe it in time. A sudden power fluctuation plunged the station into darkness. The hum of systems cutting out as emergency lights bathed the room in an ominous crimson. Panic sparked at the edges of the crowd, whispers turning into murmurs of dread. Through the viewport, the human ship's silhouette grew larger, more defined. There was no emblem, no attempt at diplomacy, only the cold precision of a hunter, arriving on silent wings. The bartender's mechanical eyes flickered, and he muttered, "They're not myths. They're coming back. And this time, it won't be for stories." The silence in the control room was deafening. Outside the thick reinforced viewport, the blackness of space stretched infinitely, broken only by distant stars and the slow, ominous drift of the human vessel, now locked in orbit around VARK-9. No one aboard the station had ever seen a ship like this. It was too small to be a battleship yet. Its design defied every known principle of starship construction. Sleek and angular, its surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, rendering it almost invisible against the cosmic backdrop. Lieutenant Kaymore, a veteran Kavari sensor officer, stared at the flickering console, his fingers hovering uncertainly over the controls. Every system was struggling to track the ship's erratic movements. It didn't broadcast any signals. It didn't respond to hails. It simply waited. "Commander, the ship's speed is impossible," Kaymore muttered, voice tight with disbelief. "It slipped past our outer defenses like a shadow. No signature. No electronic footprint. How is that even possible?" Commander Trelvac didn't answer immediately. His sharp eyes never left the viewport. The station's artificial gravity thrummed faintly beneath their feet, but the tension in the room made it feel like they were standing on the edge of a void far worse than space itself. "Silent approach means one thing," Trelvac finally said, voice low and hard. "They want to be here without anyone noticing. This isn't an accident." The room grew colder. The hum of the station's systems drowned beneath the pounding of anxious hearts. Whispers spread like wildfire among the crewroomers' fears. Legends resurfacing from the depths of galactic history. "Humans," someone breathed. Kaymore flinched. The name was forbidden in many circles, a species officially declared extinct decades ago, erased from official records after the collapse. They were supposed to be ghosts. Stories whispered to warn the reckless about the dangers of hubris and war. But the ship said otherwise. Suddenly, the comm system crackled sharply, a distorted voice cutting through the static. "Unidentified. Vessel approaching station. Please identify yourself. You are entering restricted space." No reply. The silence that followed was suffocating. "Try again," Trelvac ordered, his jaw clenched. "They're not responding." Kaymore's fingers danced over the console, launching multiple communication attempts, each one ignored. Then the ship's silhouette shifted, moving closer with terrifying precision. "They're not here to negotiate," Kaymore said grimly. "Whatever they want, they are ready to take it by force." Suddenly, the ship's hull shimmered like a ripple in reality, then vanished from sensors entirely. Panic flickered across the faces of the station's officers. "Cloaking. They've got cloaking technology." "Impossible," muttered Trelvac, his voice strained. "Not at this scale. Not without detection." But the human ship was gone, or hidden. Only the ghost of its presence lingered, like a shadow etched against the stars. Seconds stretched into agonizing minutes. Then the ship reappeared, this time directly behind the station's defense array. "Alert. Intruder in perimeter." Alarms blared. Red lights flashed violently, casting jagged shadows on taut faces. Crew scrambled to battle stations, fingers gripping weapons and controls. The quiet dread erupted into controlled chaos. Kaymore watched as the station's defenses locked onto the human vessel. Missiles launched, streaking like deadly fireflies. But the ship twisted and vanished again, untouchable, untiring. "Evasive maneuvers," Kaymore called out. "They're faster than anything we've ever faced." Suddenly, from the depths of the station's comm system, a new signal burst through, a chilling voice, distorted but unmistakably human. "You've forgotten us," it said, "but we have not forgotten you." The words hung in the air like a curse. Trelvac's eyes narrowed. "Prepare for contact. This isn't just a visit. It's a declaration." Outside, the stars watched silently as ghosts from humanity's past began their deadly return. In the cold void of space, far from the flickering lights of Varkasneen Station, a solitary figure moved like a shadow among shattered asteroid debris. Clad in a suit of dark, adaptive armor that absorbed starlight, the human scout drifted silently, a ghost in the galactic silence. No sensors could detect her. No scanners could track her. She was watching, waiting. Lieutenant Aria Mercer's eyes, sharp and unblinking behind her helmet's visor, scanned the horizon where alien warships massed. The hulking vessels were oblivious to the silent hunter stalking their formation. Her breath came in steady, controlled bursts. Years of training had drilled into her the patience needed for this moment. A moment the galaxy thought would never come. The station had fallen into chaos after the human ship's sudden appearance. Messages streamed through encrypted channels, and rumors spread like wildfire. But Arya knew her mission was clear: gather intelligence, expose weaknesses, and stay invisible until the time to strike arrived. A soft beep on her wrist console caught her attention. A nearby asteroid cracked, revealing a hidden sensor array. Alien technology, crude but effective. She sent a quick pulse, scrambling its signals, then moved deeper into the shadows. The alien fleet below prepared for war, but they had no idea. Their greatest enemy was already watching, waiting to unravel their plans. Suddenly, her comm crackled. A low, familiar voice whispered, "Status." "Position secured," Arya responded, voice calm but resolute. "Enemy defenses remain." Unaware, their command structure is fractured, internal conflicts weakening their resolve. "Good. The time for shadows is ending," the voice said. "Stay sharp. The galaxy remembers little of us, but we will remind them all." The stars stretched, cold and distant beyond her visor. Somewhere below, countless lives hung in the balance, and the weight of a forgotten war pressed heavy on her shoulders. Arya adjusted her grip on the compact pulse rifle strapped to her arm. She was more than a scout. She was the silent eye of humanity's return, the harbinger of a reckoning the galaxy had long ignored. A sudden pulse in her sensors jolted her alien patrol drones. Sweeping through the debris field, she froze, heart pounding. Her breath slowed, pulse steadying like steel in the dark. The drones scanned, blind to her, as she slipped past with careful, measured movements. One misstep, one careless flicker of her suit's energy signature, and she'd be exposed, a target, a casualty, as she vanished deeper into the asteroid belt. A thought settled cold and sharp. This was no longer a mission of survival. It was a warning, and when humans finally stepped from the shadows, the galaxy would never be the same again. The void was silent for a heartbeat, then shattered. Without warning, the flagship of the Galdrak fleet, a massive warship bristling with weapons and shields, erupted in a violent cascade of light and fire. Explosions tore through its hull, sending ripples across its sleek surface like scars etched in metal. Inside the flagship's command bridge, alarms screamed with relentless urgency. Officers scrambled, their faces pale as holographic screens flickered uncontrollably. The ship lurched violently, throwing crew members off balance. "Hull breach in Section 12. A panicked voice shouted. "Shields at 50% and falling." Captain Vieras gritted his teeth, staring at the unfolding chaos. "Where is the enemy? Return, fire." The answer came in silence. The human vessel was nowhere to be seen on sensors, vanished like a phantom. "We're blind," the tactical officer cried. "They're cloaked or using some advanced stealth tech. Our weapons can't lock on." Suddenly, from the depths of the void, streaks of plasma tore through space. Precision-guided missiles slammed into the flagship's weaker points with devastating effect, exploding in brilliant orange blooms that lit the darkness. In the pilot's cabin of the human ship, Lieutenant Arya Mercer's eyes gleamed with cold focus. Fingers danced over controls as she executed maneuvers no alien pilot could predict, weaving through debris fields, firing deadly strikes, and disappearing before retaliation could find her. "Target locked," Arya whispered. "Engage." Back on the flagship, chaos descended into panic. Communications went dark. Systems failed one by one. The mighty warship, pride of the Galdrak fleet, became a burning tomb drifting in space. In the taverns and stations scattered across the star system, news of the attack rippled like wildfire. The mythical humans were back, and their first message was clear. They had not returned to negotiate. The crew aboard the human ship moved with deadly efficiency. No wasted motion, no hesitation, Only cold precision honed through years of survival and war. Every strike was calculated to cripple, to dismantle, and to warn. Prepare for retaliation, Captain VRS growled through clenched teeth. We will find them, and we will make them pay. But deep within the alien fleet's command centers, unease festered. The humans weren't just fighting. They were sending a message that shook the very foundations of galactic power. Outside the battlefield, the stars watched silently as the first shockwave of humanity's return rippled through the cosmos. A violent reminder that legends, once awakened, refused to die quietly. Deep beneath the ruined surface of what was once Earth's greatest city, the air hung heavy with dust and silence. The faint glow of fractured holoscreens flickered weakly, casting ghostly blue light on shattered walls and twisted metal. In this forgotten bunker, hidden from alien eyes and long-dead stars, humanity's last secrets lay, buried secrets the galaxy never wanted uncovered. Dr. Elias Morrow moved cautiously through the wreckage, his boots stirring decades-old ash. His breath echoed softly in the stillness, but his eyes burned with a fierce urgency. Around him, ancient terminals hummed faintly as he connected a portable data pad to the station's core. Years of lost knowledge, technology thought destroyed, and the collapse began to awaken suddenly. The screen flickered and a holographic projection burst to life. Images of devastated cities, people fleeing burning skies, and weapons of unimaginable power flashing across battlefields. History, Elias whispered, what they tried to erase. A steady voice crackled through his comlink. Dr. Moreau, we've intercepted alien chatter. They're panicked. Something in your archive is breaking through their networks. Elias glanced around warily. The bunker's isolation was no longer a shield. The past was bleeding into the present, unraveling carefully constructed lies as he delved deeper into the archives. Elias uncovered schematics of advanced weapons, energy shields, adaptive armor, and pulse rifles far beyond current galactic tech. But most alarming was a project labeled Phoenix Protocol, humanity's last desperate plan to rise from extinction. Suddenly, a low tremor shook the bunker. Dust cascaded from the ceiling. Someone, or something, was coming. Outside, alien reconnaissance drones swarmed above the ruins, scanning relentlessly for signs of human resistance. Their buzzing was a cold reminder. The galaxy's most powerful races feared what humans might still possess. Elias clenched his jaw. If they think we're gone, they're wrong. The datapad buzzed again, a new encrypted message. Deciphered, it revealed a chilling fact. The collapse wasn't an accident. It was orchestrated by a coalition of alien powers fearing humanity's growing strength. The galaxy had written humanity out of history, but the truth was alive, buried in ashes, waiting to ignite a rebellion in the darkness. Elias' eyes met the glow of an old, battered weapon, the last relic of a war that never truly ended. The galaxy won't forget us, he vowed. Not this time. The command deck of the Galdrek flagship was thick with tension, the air heavy with whispered accusations and wary glances. Captain Viras paced, his scaled claws tapping sharply against the metal floor as his officers argued fiercely. We underestimated them, growled the tactical chief, eyes blazing with frustration. Their tactics are unlike anything we've seen. They strike unseen and vanish before we can respond. Enough, Viras barked, slamming a fist on the console. We have spies. We have traitors. Someone is feeding them our secrets. A murmur rippled through the room. The idea was unthinkable. Betrayal among the Galdrek, a warrior race bound by honor. Yet the evidence was mounting. Tactical leaks, sudden ambushes, and the humans' uncanny knowledge of fleet movements. Lieutenant Kara, a sharp-eyed intelligence officer, stepped forward. Captain, there's been unusual activity in our relays. Encrypted transmissions we can't trace. Someone is hacking our systems from within. VRS narrowed his eyes. Find the source. I want names. Meanwhile, Deep within the station's labyrinthine corridors, a shadow moved silently. A figure cloaked in dark garb slipped past security patrols with practiced ease. A human operative embedded long ago, forgotten by the enemy, but watching, waiting. She paused near a communications hub, fingers dancing over a control panel. Data streams burst into life, feeding vital intelligence to the humans' hidden forces. But the risk was immense. One mistake, one slip, and she'd be captured, or worse, back on the command deck. Suspicion poisoned the air. Officers eyed each other like predators. Trust was a fragile thing, and betrayal could come from the most unexpected places. Suddenly, alarms blared. The mainframe flickered as a powerful cyberattack breached their defenses. Systems overloaded. Consoles sparked, and the flagship's lights dimmed. Sabotage. Someone yelled. Single quotes RASS growled, voice icy with fury. Seal all compartments. Lockdown comes. We hunt the traitor before they destroy us all. Outside, the human forces moved with ruthless precision, exploiting the chaos their covert agent had sown. Fleets that once seemed invincible now found themselves vulnerable. Their greatest strengths turned against them in the depths of space. The shadows of betrayal spread like wildfire, and the Galdrak would soon learn that the cost of underestimating humanity was far higher than they ever imagined. The stars outside the battered warship's viewport flickered like distant witnesses, cold and unblinking. Inside the cramped command chamber, Lieutenant Arya Mercer's breath was shallow, every nerve taut as a drawn wire. The Galdrak fleet was regrouping, wounded but relentless. Their ships swarmed like predatory beasts, hungry to crush the returning humans before the legend grew too large to contain. But Arya knew the truth. This was no longer just a battle for survival. It was a reckoning. Her ship's hull groaned under the strain of evasive maneuvers, plasma fire streaking past like deadly comets. Explosions rocked the vessel, each blast threatening to tear it apart. Shields at 30%. Came the grim report from the engineering console. Keep us in the fight, Arya commanded, voice steady, despite the chaos. We don't retreat. Outside, the void was a battlefield of light and shadow, laser bolts slicing through darkness, massive cruisers exchanging thunderous volleys, debris scattering like deadly shrapnel. Suddenly, a pulse cannon fired from the flagship, a beam of searing energy that slammed into the human ship's side. The impact sent Arya sprawling, sparks flying as systems faltered. Damage report, she barked, hand steadying on the console. Life support stable, but hull integrity compromised, came the urgent reply. Arya's eyes burned with fierce determination. This is for every forgotten human, every erased memory. We fight not just for survival, but for vengeance. In the shadows, her squadron emerged, smaller, faster ships striking with lethal precision. They tore through enemy formations, breaking lines, sowing confusion. But the Galdrak were fierce, their retaliation swift and brutal. A brutal dogfight erupted, the void alive with deadly dance of technology and will. Then, from the depths of space, a new signal pulsed, the ancient beacon of Earth. Long dormant, but now broadcasting a call to all hidden human cells scattered across the galaxy. Coordinates confirmed, Arya whispered. Reinforcements are coming. The tide of battle shifted. The humans, once ghosts and myths, now surged forward with a storm's fury. The Galdrak flagship's commander, face twisted in rage, realized too late that the galaxy's forgotten warriors were back, not to beg for peace, but to claim their rightful place. The final battle raged beneath the cold stars, a tempest of light and shadow tearing through the void. Human ships, long hidden in the shadows of forgotten systems, surged forward in relentless waves. Their pulse cannons flared like ancient fire, carving paths through the alien armada. Lieutenant Arya Mercer stood on the bridge of the flagship Phoenix, her gaze fixed on the swirling chaos beyond the viewport. The ship trembled with each hit, but the spirit of humanity burned brighter than ever. Enemy flagship in sight, the tactical officer reported, voice taut with urgency. Shields weakening. This is our chance. Arya nodded, every muscle coiled for the strike. Prepare the boarding party. We take that ship and end this. As the Phoenix closed in, massive beams of energy lanced out from the enemy vessel. Explosions blossomed across the hull, but the humans pressed on, undeterred. Docking clamps latched with a grinding screech. The airlock hissed open, and the boarding team surged forward. Ghosts of a forgotten war returned to claim their place in the stars. Inside the enemy ship, corridors echoed with the clash of weapons and shouts of defiance. Human soldiers moved with fierce precision, pushing through enemy ranks like a wildfire. Arya led the charge, every step a statement. Humanity would no longer be a whispered legend, but a roaring force at the heart of the enemy command center. Captain Vieras met her gaze with a mixture of fury and reluctant respect. You've returned, he growled, but this war will not be forgotten. No, Arya replied, voice steady and clear. It will be remembered, and it will change everything. The battle ended with the enemy flagship's surrender, a symbol of an empire shaken to its core. As the dust settled and stars returned to their silent vigil, the galaxy faced a new truth. Humans were no longer folklore. They were a legacy, forged in fire, tempered by survival, and destined to shape the future of the stars.